So today we're going to be testing the remaining battery capacity in my Volkswagen ID.3 after 1 year and 9,000 miles of ownership. We've come here today to the GridServe charging forecourt in Braintree, currently charging up my ID.3 fully in the background to 100%. We're then going to go and do a lap of the M25, which should more or less deplete the battery from 100 right down to more or less zero. I'm hoping we can make the lap. We'll have to wait and see, but that will give us an indication in the car of exactly how much charge the car has used, or how much energy the car has used over the course of that journey. We're then going to come back here, charge the car up again completely, and then the machine then will tell us how much energy it's put back into the battery, and we'll be able to compare those numbers and get an idea of how much capacity is left in the battery after 1 year of usage. I will say we've been very sensible with it over the course of the last year. We've only ever gone above 80% charge when we've absolutely needed to, so when we're doing a longer journey. Other than that, it's never been charged more than 80% when we're using it day to day. Fast charge, we've mostly charged it slowly at home. We've only fast charged it on the road. So actually, I would say we're very typical users. There's been no weird use. We've been done the recommended use for the most part, apart from the longer journey. So this should be a good idea. Shout out to the Battery Life channel, Bjorn. He did one of these tests and he found an 8% loss in his ID.3 after the first year of use, which is quite high, it seems to me. So I'm really interested to see how my car has performed under very, very normal conditions. So let's get into it then. Okay, so inside now, out of the wind and cold, and we are now fully charged. You can see 100% charge. As I said, only really charge to this when we're doing a long journey, but we do actually need it for this. So what we're going to look at in the data is going to be the miles per kilowatt hour, and we're going to multiply that by the amount of miles we do. So that will tell us exactly what the car thinks it's used in terms of kilowatt hours. We're going to do our lap, which is around about 170 miles. At the moment, the car's indicating 206 miles for a charge. So hopefully we can make the lap, but it is quite cold. As you can see, 8.5 degrees outside at the moment. We are going to have the heat on in the cabin, otherwise we'll freeze to death. We'll have that on 18 degrees. And anyway, let's get on the road. So here we go then, 50% charge on the battery. So we're exactly halfway through our current charge level, and we've done just about 90 miles at the moment. So in the current conditions, 7.5 degrees. It's almost all been motorway. Of course, the battery was pre-warmed, so was the cabin by the time we left the charging station. But according to that, then we can do around about 180 miles on a charge in the current conditions, which to be fair isn't bad for constant motorway in the summer. I don't think I ever really got much more than 200 miles from a charge. So in the conditions, that's not too bad. That's a good sign for our battery capacity. But yeah, we are just about, I think, going to make it back to where we started, but not by a big margin. I think we probably only have about 5 miles of range or so left by the time we get there. So it could be a little bit close, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And we can find out finally how much capacity is left in the battery. Okay, so there we go, journey complete. We did use exactly 95% of the battery. As I predicted, we've got exactly 5%. What a weird prediction that was, but I absolutely nailed it. We only just made it. We only had 13 miles left according to the range meter. And if we switch over to the consumption screen, we can see that since we last charged it here, we've done 183 miles, which is actually pretty good going, to be fair. You know, we're still below 10 degrees here. 183 miles with a few more miles to go. Maybe we could have snuck that up to 200 miles at an absolute stretch. That's not too bad in cold conditions. Average 59 miles an hour, because of course we were on the motorway almost the whole time, 3 hours and 7 minutes. And it gives us the all-important figure of 3.4 miles per kilowatt hour. Now, if we use that figure combined with the mileage figure, that gives us a consumption figure of 53.82 kilowatt hours. That's how much energy it costs us to do these 183 miles. If we expand that up with the extra 5%, so with the extra 5% factored in, that gives us a total battery capacity of 56.65 kilowatt hours, according to this data here. Now, I will say, of course, we've only got one decimal place here, so this isn't an exact science, unfortunately, with the data available. Of course, also, we don't know how accurately the car measures the power that it takes out of the battery. But according to that, we've only lost around about 2.3% of our battery capacity in the first year of use over the first 9,000 miles. If that is the case, that is very low. That is much lower than I was expecting. As I said, the Battery Life channel seemed to get around about 8% consumption, 8% loss over the first year. So if that is the case, and we've only lost 2.3%, that's way lower than I expected. I will say again, we're only using one decimal place there because that's what Volkswagen gives us. In a worst case scenario, if that decimal place went up by 1 to 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, so only a change of 0.1, that changes the figures quite significantly. And that gives us around about a 5% loss of battery capacity over the first year. So actually quite a big difference there by just 0.1 difference, but because of the amount of miles we did, it does make quite a big difference over the scale. So either way though, less than the Battery Life channel, certainly. So I don't know what the difference is there. I don't know if it's perhaps just a temperature difference. In general, I don't know if it's a usage difference. We've certainly done less miles than he did. We've also done quite different usage patterns. We only have gone above 80%. We've absolutely needed to for a long journey. We've also only fast charged on a long journey. So quite interesting there. And that's certainly a little bit lower than I was expecting. And actually, to be honest, according to Volkswagen, the battery capacity goes down by quite a bit in the first year, and after that it slows down massively. So if we assume we're somewhere between 2.5 to 5% battery capacity loss in the first year, it'll probably be 1% or less years after that. So in 5-10 years time, actually we'll probably only have lost, well, I mean 10%, maybe 10% battery capacity, which isn't too bad for a 10-year-old car when you think about it. One final thing to check though is to plug it into this machine here and to charge the car all the way back up again to see how much energy the machine puts into the battery. Now, I will say again, it's not an exact science. There will be some energy lost when we're doing that because, of course, you know, there was some loss as heat as it goes in as well. And the machines probably aren't perfect. It's also measuring it. But that would just give us a good idea to kind of sort of fact check what we're doing here, just to see if that's sort of within allowable parameters to make sure that these figures aren't wildly wrong. Because again, we haven't really got any way of knowing how precise Volkswagen's figures are. So let's do that. There we go then, starting to charge now. You can see 101 kilowatts is going in, so that's pretty much full speed this car can handle. Interestingly, earlier, of course, when we only did half an hour journey to get here, we only charged at 40 kilowatts per hour. So it's now charging at full speed, and we've just rinsed the whole battery over this journey, so the battery's now nice and warm, and it can charge at full speed, which is great for us. It means we can go home a bit earlier. But as you can see, I'm only putting 1.2 kilowatts, so 6% charge. We're now to sit here and wait for that to get to pretty much 100. I might not get to quite to 100, but certainly charge up a lot so we can get a good idea of the power put into the car. Okay, so there we go, 100% charge now, and as you can see, it put in 55.898 kilowatt hours. I'm going to assume that's pretty accurate as it goes to 3 decimal places. You assume that they get it pretty much spot on. As you say, it took around about an hour to do that charge. To be honest, I don't know how much it loses. How much does it lose? How much heat goes into the cable that gets lost? How much heat goes into the battery and gets lost? There's lots of losses there. The machine itself, maybe it's not perfectly efficient, maybe even the connector, don't know. There's going to be some losses there, but that's the data, that's the raw data we've got. It's impossible to know really an exact amount of capacity, but I think the more accurate one is the one from the car. So I'm pretty sure the battery's lost somewhere between 2.5 to 5% over the first year, which actually I'm really happy with. Anyway guys, let me know what you thought of the video down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts as well on the data that we provided today. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and I thank you for watching. Bye bye.